We recently finished the first chapter, of the first part. This is a book about an American woman who was actually the mother of the universe incarnate, but she has forgotten her true identity, and so the father of the universe, Shiva, incarnating as Sid, has come to open her mind to realize her true self. There's a little bit of a B plot happening between the chapters where the true self within Sid, Shiva, is engaging in his divine lila, or play or pastimes. Recently they went through a temple in India, and there was unfortunately this elephant that was chained up. So I guess Sid went back as Shiva. Within the inner chamber of the great temple, Sid Shiva Rudra, the Lord of the Cosmos, loosened the chains that bound the dying elephant's legs. He pressed his face against the sensitive folds of the animal's vast side to draw away the pain. The elephant responded with a slight snort that seemed to take some effort. Sid then set about forcing open the heavy teak doors and gently coaxed the animal into stepping back until they had cleared the chamber. "I need your help," Sid said in a soft, low voice. Darkness surrounds her. It is all that she is aware of, but she is beginning to remember. He heaved himself onto the animal, and the two moved onto the street and made their way toward the remnants of a forest. It was broad daylight. No one stopped them. No one gave them a second glance. When they reached a dry riverbed, the elephant lowered itself to let Sid alight. Sid patted it lightly on the rump to encourage it to go on without him. The animal dutifully lumbered on its turned back to see Sid seated cross-legged in Chin Mudra, his eyes half closed. A light cooling rain sprinkled down, and the elephant grunted in appreciation and made its way toward the land of its ancestors. Chapter 2. May this reading relax your mind and awaken your heart. Querida, querida! Pepe screamed from a mezzanine window as I came up the path dragging my suitcase. Moments later, he flung open the front door. "What happened?" he said, still very loudly. "You a day early." Pepe, my business partner and comrade at arms, was given to excesses of expression, but his falsetto shrieks of delight were a sure sign something was amiss. I was exhausted. My abrupt departure from the conference seemed an inspired move that expressed my disdain for the marbled-clad rooms, the pillow mattresses, and the sophisticated, nuanced seminars. But instead of the luxury van previously arranged to cover the 100 or so miles to the convent where Pepe and I lived and worked, my early return involved a filthy train and an overflowing, odorous, rickety bus that stopped for anyone who waved it down. There was also the final mile of trudging in the late afternoon heat on a graveled, treeless road. No sooner had I stepped off the bus than a dark skeletal boy snatched my suitcase and dragged it in the dirt until I had to wrench it from him and pay him off. All along, from low doorways of mud huts, dark skeletal figures quietly observed my stumbling progress, but did not interfere. Pepe grabbed my bag. "What the hell, Pepe?" I cried as he straightened. His left eye was swollen shut, and there was purple bruises on his face and arms. One hand was bandaged. He lurched forward, and I reached out to steady him. "The girls," he said. "They gone. That man, Raja." "What?" "He came with some men from the village. I tried to stop them. They took... "What do you mean, Pepe? They beat me and took the girls. I did not stop them." A few months earlier, during a drenching monsoon downpour, Pepe chanced upon 5 small girls huddled against the convent wall like a litter of kittens slated for drowning. They ranged in age from about 3 to 9. One had been blinded in one eye, one had a broken leg, 2 had serious burn scars, and the smallest was running a high fever. All had bruises from beatings. Pepe carried them into the warehouse, dried them off, and fed them. What happened next was surprising. "I take care of them," Pepe insisted. "When my mama and papa shot by militia, I take care of my 6 sisters." Mother Gabriel, our boss, was not pleased. The care of 5 sickly children who had been discarded by their families and who did not possess the legitimate status of refugees had no role in the Vatican's vision for her newly minted NGO. But when no one offered to take them in their present condition, she relented. "They stay only until they get better," she said severely. Pepe agreed and efficiently went about emptying a trash-filled lean-to at the far end of the compound to house them. He bought the girls clothes and arranged for them to be fed at the convent kitchen, mostly food scraps for which they had to wait outside. Pepe could converse in any language badly, and he worked up as much of the local lingo as he could, but communication with the girls was entirely one way. In a ceremony involving flowers, incense, camphor, and an oil lamp, he went on to bestow names on them, since none of them would or could say their names. At first, he set simple tasks for them outdoors, sweeping our makeshift loading dock and watering the few straggly plants. One day I found them in the warehouse stapling bills of lading and invoices. They quickly bent their heads to their task when I passed by. The oldest girl, at the possible age of 9, her face scarred by burns, was a mother to them all. Pepe had the proverbial heart of gold. His compassion knew no bounds, but his utter devotion to the girls puzzled me. It was an unwritten rule that NGO staff could not personally get involved with the lives of the people they served. In addition, these girls were not refugees. It was not our brief to help them. But how could I dissuade him when he had done exactly the same for me? A few years back in Western Sahara, at a foul-dense habitation on a rocky swath surrounded by desert, 2 men had burst into the clinic where I was working late taking inventory. They were friendly at first, but soon one of them pulled out a knife and demanded I open the storage room. They proceeded to methodically load up their pickup with unopened boxes of medical supplies. "Those medicines are useless," I shouted when they were about to leave. "Garbage, expired, they are old. It is what they send us." This outburst angered them. One moment, I have to affirm to TikTok that the stream is indeed live by solving a one-piece puzzle. Yes! I successfully solved the world's hardest puzzle. This outburst angered them, and the man with the knife came forward, pushed me onto the floor, and stabbed me repeatedly. Several hours later, Pepe, a security guard at the camp, noticed that the clinic door was wide open. He found me on the floor, curled up in a pool of blood, fading in and out of consciousness. He wrapped me in blankets and drove the 20 or so miles to a rudimentary bush hospital. After I was patched up, he carried me to his room, changed my bandages, and fed me soups. "It was my fault," I said. The 2 men became angry when I told them the medicines were past their shelf life. "It's true, tax deductions for the rich, discards for the poor. It's not what they needed to hear. When you get better, you go home, Pepe said. This is a bad place. You go home, to America. In the course of my recovery, I discovered that Pepe and I had complementary skills, not particularly remarkable on their own, but marketable if teamed up. We were both desperate to get out of the dark continent, but no desire to go, quote-unquote, home. When we proceeded to fashion ourselves as development and logistics duo, our tagline, 2 for the price of 1, wily Mother Gabriel, a continent away in rural South India, bought into our value proposition. We moved at once and became the only 2 paid employees of the Sisters of the Poor, a minor Catholic charity with big plans. South India. The tourist brochures listed white beaches, magnificent temples, wildlife and bird sanctuaries, and the place where Tamil was spoken, the oldest living classical language, dating back to the pre-Aryan Mohenjo-Daro and the Harappa Indus Valley civilizations. My kind of place, Pepe, I said. Paradise. Pepe was skeptical. To his way of thinking, every paradise has its snake, but when we received no other offers, he reluctantly agreed to try out the Sisters of the Poor. We arrived at the convent door in the middle of summer on the hottest day of the year. Pepe in a pale blue, ill-fitting suit that emphasized the large pools of sweat around his armpits, and I in a loose cotton salwar kameez, listing to one side, pale and sick. Mother Gabriel looked us up and down and was not impressed. She did not let us in, but pointed to a derelict brick structure in a far corner of the compound, which was where we were to work and live. The convent house was out of bounds. Pepe soon cleared the building and brought in electricity and water, and I, unable to do much physical labor, set up our files and computers. My job was to solicit grants and donations from first world consortiums and manage the supply chain. Pepe took over the building, hauling, logging, and securing of sacks of powdered milk, tins of meats and beans, medicines and bandages, and various miscellaneous items that faraway donors found they could do without. Actual distribution within the neighboring refugee settlement was cleverly left to the native novice nuns, the humble face of the Sisters of the Poor, since my blue-eyed blondness branded me as the enemy, a fake foreign do-gooder, and Pepe's brownness coupled with his willingness to take on any task labeled him as a despised no-caste. On the surface, the surrounding countryside appeared to be a gentle place that had, for the most part, escaped foreign invasions, massacres, and dominance. Age-old traditions of classical dance, poetry, literature, and music were allowed to flourish without interruption, while new ideas were quietly assimilated. There was poverty, but not the despair I had seen elsewhere. Even the Sri Lankan refugees at the camp adjacent to the convent seemed to have blended seamlessly into the land's rhythm and customs. Pepe, I said one morning, you once said I should go home. I have. This place is home. He grunted. My Yankee optimism had no place in his gloomy worldview. We were an unlikely pair. Pepe and I, the quintessential odd couple, Pepe's stocky, muscular stature, androgynous, flat, broad face, black, curly hair doused with Vaseline, puck nose, and wide mouth made him one of those foot soldiers out of a Mayan bas-relief. His sexual ambivalence, I could see him sleeping with male, female, or goat, suited me. I was a head taller, lanky, and strictly commonplace in my carnal leanings, whereas he favored the exotic. We reveled in our differences. We never spoke of our origins or why we did this work, both knowing that we could never fully explain ourselves, so why bother? We were the people we invented. We were happy then, working hard, honing our skills, and making plans for the future. That is, until the 5 damaged girls barged into our lives and our troubles began. Now the girls had been taken. I'll get the girls back, Pepe, I said. I promise. I'll talk to Air Commandant. Look, I'm going right now. And we'll pause the reading of Moksha, Liberation, there for now. So thank you for listening. I love that our Sid Shiva Rudra is already making divine changes in the world around her, from freeing the elephant that she empathized with, to meditating somewhere in the jungle, hoping to bring more light into our dear protagonist's eyes, and some more backstory between our associate Pepe. And now that we have come to realize that they take care of these little girls, they have become stolen again. How can they get them back? That is a cliffhanger we'll have to explore next time. What I really love is the inherent contradiction between the plot, which is to make our protagonist more peaceful, and the fact that she already feels like she's living a righteous life. But deep down, there's still an identification with the doership, that she's only doing good because it fuels her ego, that she feels like she has to because no one else would do it, which is still better than not helping out. But in the highest spiritual sense, we have to even let go of our doership to really deeply become happy, so that the work we do is not out of a burden that we are forced to carry, but an honor in the world that is our space to express our divine nature. And all that help comes from our higher self, and we are just the instruments to see it happen. And I'll love to see that contradiction play out as we continue to read. And I look forward to reading to you next time.